So we've got a situation in Boulder that apparently is now grown.
Like a boulder on somebody's shoulder, like that type of deal.
Well, I guess kinda. I guess that could be the case.
Okay.
So there was the decision to retire the jersey numbers of Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter over the weekend at the Colorado spring game. And so the conversation was very heated for some people. They thought, listen, Deion Figures should have his number 2 retire. If he didn't get his retired, these guys just left. They'd only been there a short time. Why would they get their – and so –
Brady's boy, Joel Klatt, came out, was like, da-da-da. Like,
yeah, why didn't Clack get his number retired?
I mean, when he would have left, it would have made sense then based on what the justification is for Shedeur.
Dang.
Well, it's not damn. I mean, he set a bunch of records, passing records during his time at Colorado.
There you go.
And he had them competing in, I believe back then was a Big 8, or at least competing for the Big 8.
Yeah.
So you could have made the case. Look, this has become very polarizing because it is Coach Prime. It's the Sanders family, and they tend to be able to do that, make waves. But there is some legitimate questions that people have as to why now. Do we have the sound on that?
No, there's no sound.
We've been looking for it.
There's no sound.
We've been looking for it?
We have quotes.
Well, not we. I mean, he's been looking for it. I was just told that we were looking for it and that we didn't find it.
So the quote from Deion Sanders was, the time frame nobody's going to be happy with.
Can I find this to send it to Lee just because it's going to take about 30 seconds of my time?
Lee said he could not find it.
And I quote, I looked everywhere.
The edit bay.
And I quote, I looked everywhere for it.
If Brady finds
Bad news bears. If he finds it,
I've already found it. The problem is he's gonna have to search through when he says it. There might be a little turnaround time, but here you go, Lee. Let me copy and paste this to you.
Bad news bears. Jesus.
Lee, how was your Easter?
If it's him with the white hoodie, it's not in there. But
what?
Oh no,
Lee, what are you talking about?
I'll see what
it's a 19-minute post, spring game clip when he said it.
Yeah.
Okay. What's in there? You'd have to find it. It might take a little work on your part. How are those numbers coming along, Lee?
They're almost there. They're almost there.
I bet, buddy.
Oh no.
So
I know one jersey we won't be retiring after we get done.
Who's?
one Tommy Bahama shirt. That would not be retired.
Come on. You wouldn't retire Lee's Tommy Bahama?
Maybe.
Come on, man.
It's possible.
Back to the original point though, and did you actually read the whole quote?
Go ahead, read the whole quote.
So the whole quote from Deion Sanders was, the time frame nobody's going to be happy with. Somebody's always going to have something to say. But the way we're at right now, we are in the now generation. Those guys deserve what they deserve right now. So I'm proud of them. So,
okay. So after saying that, my question is, we're in a now generation. If that's the case, who's he appeasing? Like, what is he appeasing Travis and Shedeur? And maybe no one has a gripe with Travis. I mean, he made the comment and they talked, post spring game about, well, what do we have to do in regards to, when this happens? Because Rashaan Salam, they waited and he had passed away. I think it was a year after he had passed. And Coach Prime brought up the fact of, well, what do we have to do? Wait till after they pass away? Is that like in order to honor them? And so there's a lot of truth in what he's saying. And again, I think the problem is, and maybe he's missing some of this, is no one has an issue with Travis Hunter having his jersey retired. It's more about Shedeur and whether or not it's justified. Now that's on Colorado and the AD and other people who are a part of all this. But the question still exists: who's he appeasing? Is it the fans? Was there an outcry from the fans for this? Was there an outcry within the athletics department at Colorado? Is he trying to appease what he feels like is in his mind, like their program and doing this was going to bring more fans to the spring game as kind of part of this? So let's showcase the success they had the past 2 years, or helping to improve the program the last 2 years. I mean, unfortunately, the fans didn't show out for it. I think his first year, it was, a huge crowd, 47,000, something along those lines. Last year it was a little different because of the weather. So there's only about 28,000, but a pretty dramatic drop from what it was. And then this year it was about 20,000 reported. It looked half that. It didn't look like there was a ton of fans there for the spring game. So I'm just not sure who that generation of now he's referring to outside of Travis and Shedeur. And then that leads me to say, so if you're trying to make sure they feel the appreciation they deserve for what they've accomplished, what you could have done then, and especially as the head coach and probably should have done, is gotten other guys in jerseys retired who are deserving of that. And honestly, had he gotten Deion Figures up there as well, like literally just came out and said, look, I think there's 2 players in Colorado football history who deserve to have their number retired, but they're both happen to be wearing number 2. And this could have been done a long time ago. But if they would have put both Deion Figures and Shedeur Sanders up there, I don't think anyone would have a gripe with it. In fact, he would have come out better for it, looking better for it, and people being like, okay, like that's pretty awesome. Like he feels like Shedeur did a lot, but also Deion Figures, who wasn't recognized for this, and maybe should have been, given the national championship, given the consensus All-American, Jim Thorpe, all those things, that now he's doing right by it. And so if he had just included more players as opposed to just Travis Hunter, just Shedeur Sanders, I don't think this would even be a conversation. I think people would be looking at him saying, dang, dude, look at that. Like Coach Prime standing up even for former players, generations, everything else, getting their numbers retired too, because it's been too long of a wait for them. But that's the thing is, it wasn't everyone else. It was just these 2, and it was right now. And so it feels like he's really just appeasing those 2. And look, that's his own prerogative. He's the head coach. He's allowed to do whatever he wants. He's got a new contract and all that. It feels like people are starting to get a little bit worn down with some of this. And I think the spring game attendance is part of that. And we'll see how this season goes and what happens with all of it, depending on how they do, what kind of conversation we're having a year from now.
Respect, first and foremost. Like, I respect what Prime is doing, and in terms of the energy and the level of relevance that he's brought to the program. But let's be clear, Shedeur isn't even an All-American. He will not be.
That's not true.
He
was. He was first and second team All-American on some.
On some. What are the some? I'm
just telling you right now that's 100% false. I can look that up. But
let's look it up. Look it up.
Yeah.
Look that one up for me. I don't believe that he was acknowledged as
100% as a first or second team, and in most cases. But again,
I see all SWAC. I see Big 12. I see a lot. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not. I don't think I'm wrong. But all I'm saying is he's definitely not as decorated.
He was second team by the Associated Press.
Okay, second team.
Right. College Football Network, I believe, Vox Toro, some others had him as his first team.
Never heard of him. That's all I'll say.
Well, that's the problem. Is there's a lot that no one's ever heard of now that are coming up, and that's a whole other conversation.
I mean, if it's AP, I respect it. If it's coaches poll, I respect it. If it's not one of those, like all these other, I don't really. You could say Athlons, you could say Street and Smith. Like I did like Street and Smith. I ain't gonna lie, but I listen. My point is that he probably won't be a Hall of Famer at the college level. Like, I don't even know that he won. Did they even win a bowl game? Did they win a bowl game?
No, they did not.
For me, I just think that it's unfortunate that instead of keeping it in a place, and this is my ultimate point, instead of keeping it in a place where you can look at him as an iconic figure, just like Travis Hunter and what they were able to accomplish at Colorado, what they were able to accomplish in an HBCU, and making Jackson State as relevant as they did, because Jackson State benefited tremendously from the 2 of those guys as well, along with Coach Prime. I find it to be sad that in doing this, it will totally undermine how people feel about Shedeur Sanders and his career, because now you are forced to dissect his career. If you're paying attention, then you're forced to dissect the career, because now you want to know, why is it worth it? Why is it worthy to retire his jersey? Like, saying that it's a now generation, it's not a good enough. That's not a good enough explanation. Saying that if he wasn't a Sanders, it wouldn't be a conversation. You're correct, because if you weren't a Sanders, his jersey wouldn't be getting retired. I mean, let's be clear here. So I think that there are a lot of circumstances here that I don't know that Shedeur. I would say I do know. Shedeur Sanders should not be judged, and Shedeur Sanders should not be ridiculed and drug over the coals for this taking place. I don't think it's on him. He's the player in this situation. There are a lot of other elements, a lot of other people that make decisions that made this happen. I do not look at this as Shedeur Sanders went to his dad or went to officials, the AD at the university, and was like, I need to have my jersey retired. This is definitely something that scheme-wise, like you mentioned, maybe which this is way too long-term to leverage to try to get people to come out to a spring game.
And I know the points you guys are making is, like why now and all that, but isn't this also partly
I'm not saying why now, because I don't think there should be a wow ever. It shouldn't ever happen.
But isn't like the people that are pushing back on, like Deion Figures, who had a great career. And I think he just got into the College Football Hall of Fame recently,
past year.
Yeah, this
past year.
So, isn't this also partly on the school as well, too? Like, why didn't they step in and retire his number earlier? Why didn't they go in and take care? And I wonder if this is maybe Deion almost calling the school out and the university out, like, hey, we need to celebrate these players that we have now, and he's using these guys to launch that.
You got to keep momentum. I mean, I don't know.
The problem is if he doesn't retire Shedeur Sanders' number now, someone's going to come up and say, hey, man, when are we going to retire Deion? He just went to the College Football Hall of Fame.
So you beat him to the punch. Yeah,
well, I don't know. I'm just saying. It's like, given the recency of all this, but I understand what you're saying. It's one of the reasons why I brought that point up is like he could have been the good guy in all of this, and now it's like he's kind of taking more backlash from it because I don't think people are, dragging Shedeur, over the coals, over the fire because of it. I mean, again, he had a great year. He kept that team competitive. They helped build up that program. No one's going to deny that or take that away from them. And ultimately, the school was a part of the decision-making process. It wasn't solely just, Coach Prime. So I don't have an issue one way or another. I just think when you do something like this, that it's probably going to be taken as polarizing because it's never really happened this quick before. It usually doesn't happen this quick in most places. You got to be a little more thoughtful about your approach to it. And I think this could have been a great opportunity, because most spring games are a great opportunity to bridge the past with the current and the future, right? Spring games are great opportunities for recruits. Spring games are great opportunities to bring back former players and then bridge that all together and a way to showcase your program with all of it. And you can bring all of it together. And so it could have been a really big moment that I think was a missed opportunity for Colorado to retire some other players like Deion Figures that should have been in that conversation. And if you had Shedeur's name up there next to Deion Figures, it would be kind of unique because it would always have Coach Prime's stamp of it and saying, wait, how do they retire two players with the same number? Like usually it'd just be one player and then it never got worn after that. And you could have the whole explanation like, yeah, when Coach Prime got here, we actually hadn't retired a player's number in a while. We thought it would make some sense to retire a bunch of guys that have been waiting way too long. One of the other things that I saw, and I wanted to ask you guys, because I was reading this thinking, it's not necessarily the worst thing. And I'd kind of mentioned this, is one of the reasons why you do it now. Because, people had said, well, why don't you do it a year from now or 2 years from now, have these guys come back for a Colorado game? And I was thinking, well, they're both going to be playing in the NFL. That's going to be tough to do. If you're trying to bring them back for maybe their bye week, they could. And you'd have to line up those schedules and hope that they're home and all that. So that's one possibility. but it would maybe be difficult to do it for both players at the same time and everything else.
I don't
but
know.
the thought came down to that, like, well, what happens if Deion's not there anymore? Do you think anyone's coming back to Colorado?
That might be the now effect.
Well,
that might be the now generation effect of it.
Someone had kind of made the comment, like, well, when Deion leaves there, they're never coming back. That's why you do it now, because it holds a place in their legacy. But, and I kind of thought, all right, is there validity to that in your mind? Does that make the most sense for this situation?
Yes.
Prime holds the most value to this school, most likely in the history of this school already. He might hold the most value in terms of what he's been able to generate. It's possible.